Sports Bar with Dom Ordworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Talk Radio Europe and the Friday Night Sports Bar. Gentlemen, welcome. Stuart Joseph and Richard Tilsley, welcome back. I know you had a
What a relief. I thought that this was going to turn into the commercial hour, and we're going to have a whole hour of commercials.
It was a rather long commercial break, wasn't it? And there's no introduction there either.
Yeah, where's your funky music?
I don't know, but a Stone Roses that normally brings us in, and it just simply is not there.
You're just not pepped up now, are you?
No.
You're all deflated.
All deflated, normally pumped up after that intro, and now it's all just... feel a little bit like Kimi Räikkönen doing an interview.
Richard, sing a song.
Huh?
Sing a song.
Well, you are.
Are you the song singer? You the song singer?
I got a little bit of a
by the way,
throat.
a slight bone to pick.
Yeah.
I thought we'd sorted out the whinging. I thought there was going to be no more whinging, and I did listen on Monday, and you just can't resist it, can you, Stu?
It was Arsenal getting away with murder.
Yeah, but you were whinging again.
Couldn't help myself.
I mean, the thing is, all you people who whinge, you know what I think you should spend your time doing? Okay, is trying to build the world's first time machine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then you can go back in time and correct all your whinges.
I promise no whinges this weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if Spurs lose?
Can't promise that.
Well, we've got lots of sport to get through anyway, guys. Formula 1 round 4, Formula 1 from Bahrain this weekend. Rafael Nadal, incredibly so. He's now made through to the semi-finals of the Monte Carlo Masters. I know this is not your thing, Rich, tennis, but this is an incredible achievement by Rafa. It's on clay, of course, the greatest clay court player we've ever seen. He's rolled on to the semi-finals. He faces Joe Wilfried Tsonga. We'll talk very briefly about that shortly. Ninth consecutive win he's going for as well in Monte Carlo. And we have Steve Staunton coming on at half past the hour as well. Former Republic of Ireland captain, 102 caps, Aston Villa and Liverpool legend. Steve's going to be joining us on the line to talk about his golfing event, which takes place on the 26th of May for the Steve Staunton Foundation. And we'll talk about his career as well. Probably a little bit about Liverpool and on what his thoughts are with Aston Villa, whether they can avoid the drop. And plenty more to get through as well, guys. But you weren't in on Monday. Is it because you chose to watch Soap Sandwich or something like it? A bit of Corrie, a bit of Emmerdale, EastEnders and all of that, didn't you?
A bit of car trouble, Dom. And but I was listening avidly to the show.
It wasn't a bad show without you, was it?
Well, as I said, I mean, I was a bit disappointed to hear the whinging again. I thought we'd sorted Stuart out in that regard, but obviously it's a...
It's my passion. It's the passion.
It's passion. It's not whinging. You're the one that whinges.
It's a malady that will not obviously be cured overnight.
Well, should we let's begin the show, forget about this whinging nonsense, and let's talk about Formula 1.
But I know one thing, okay, and we've said it before, he's going to be doing a lot more whinging.
You reckon?
Well, and I've got a feeling that the whinges could turn into wails and laments by the end of the season.
Wails and laments?
Yeah, not wails like... the ones you find in the sea.
I know. I ain't that thick. I mean, well, is that your only sort of special, sort of well-educated quote of tonight's show, or have you got a couple more up your sleeve?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Spurs fans seem to be condemned to an eternal torment, don't they?
Wait and see. You're going to see Spurs rise to the occasion. So don't you?
Well, let's not
sit back and watch.
Let's not drift onto football because we're going to be discussing football in the second half of the show.
You see, being a Spurs fan, you see, it's like, you know, the story of Prometheus.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, go on. Education.
Well, you see, Prometheus was a titan, okay, and they were like the big gods, the head gods, okay. And then they got
that's the Arsenal.
Then they got okay. That's a bit like Tottenham, okay. Like you were the Mutts Nuts, okay, about 50 years ago, and then you got replaced by the other gods, you see, like Zeus and all that lot. And then Prometheus was punished by Zeus, and every day an eagle would come down and rip out his guts. And that's like being a Tottenham fan. Every year, okay, you wake up and you think, well, maybe today, you know, I'm not going to have the guts ripped out of me. Every season, it's not going to end up in complete disaster. But it does, because he's probably still on that rock, old Prometheus.
But we come back for
like
more.
You Spurs fans.
We come back for more year after year after year.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I mean, what does that tell you?
Marvellous support, Tottenham. Best supporters in London, without question.
Is hope a good or a bad thing?
Look, let's not go there. Let's carry on, right? We'll be fine. You speak to me in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, when we've got our cemented our fourth place.
Have you guys finished?
Okay.
Have you finished? Can I actually continue with my show? Or do you want to carry on with Prometheus and the Titans and all that nonsense?
No, I just like to
To wind me up.
Carl, we've got some Formula One fans out there that I know.
Oh, and the race last week was superb.
Well, you weren't here to obviously talk about it. The Chinese race is always one of the most exciting of the season. Tremendous victory there for Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen as well, really underlying his credentials for the championship this year. Lewis Hamilton, another third podium finish, should I say, following on his success.
That was gripping, wasn't it?
Hanging on, absolutely. Hanging on there with Sebastian Vettel closing that 14-second gap. His tyres were absolutely shot. But we've got a caller on the line already, so good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Yeah, hello, Jonathan Williams here.
How are you doing, Jonathan?
I'm doing good. Can I start the whinging?
You can start some whinging if you wish. Yeah, go for it.
I'm so depressed about Formula One.
Why is that?
I've been following it for 50 years. I was involved in it. And this business of the fastest drivers in the world, having to conserve their tyres and drag the cars around at slow speed. They could all go faster. And it makes no sense, what's the point?
Well, I mean...
What happened to the... this guy's the quickest guy. That's gone out the window.
Jonathan, I absolutely agree with you. And before I left home, I downloaded an article which I wanted to talk about tonight, which was about this very subject, which is about the tyres and how it is affecting the racing.
Yeah.
And certainly, I mean, if you read Gary Anderson, the F1 technical analyst,
he's a very bright guy. Yeah,
he's absolutely fantastic, and he's somebody who's not only able to understand all the machinations of, the technicalities of Formula One, but he's also able to communicate to the layman in a very, very clear and concise way.
Yes.
And he's very, very astute in his observations as well. And he's brought this very point up, and I agree with you. I think it is detracting from the racing, and it is preventing these racing drivers really taking these cars to the limit. And we've seen that in all three races now.
I mean, we do see cars overtake each other, but you get Jenson Button on the radio asking his pit people, should I fight this guy who's coming up behind him? And they said, no, you'll wreck your tyres. Let him pass. I mean, this isn't racing.
And it is all down to the tyres, because if Jenson Button actually went out and defended his lead against this guy, he wouldn't finish the race, and therefore McLaren would have got no points.
Though there is talk.
To me, the whole thing is a nonsense, but I shall continue to watch it, because that's what I do.
Well, apparently they're changing the tyres after for the start of the European part of the season.
Because in my youth, I mean, at Le Mans, which was a 24-hour race, you had to bring the car home because it was fragile, and there was none of this tyre nonsense and so forth. But the modern Le Mans is 24 sprint races. They have 5 or 6 drivers, and they drive flat out the whole time.
Well, there's been big question marks since Pirelli came in.
But I mean, their soft tyres are lasting no more than 7 laps.
Well, and I tell you what,
ridiculous.
Absolutely, and I was going to actually add to that as well. And we're talking track temperatures of around about 41 to 45 degrees Celsius in Bahrain. The super softs are going to be barely lasting 5 to 6 laps as well.
This weekend they're only using medium and the hard.
They're only going to use the medium and the hard. Are you sure about that?
Definitely.
All I can say to that is big deal, But the whole thing goes back, I think, to Bernie Ecclestone, who wants to put on a show. And, people like pit stops, and they like people passing cars and being unpassed and stuff. But it's totally invalid as a sport to see who is the fastest guy and which is the best car.
Well, let's just talk about this week.
It really does penalise the Red Bulls as well, more than any other teams.
Yeah, but they haven't changed the rules much, and everybody has been able to copy, so I should think most of the cars are pretty much as good as the other one.
Well, guys, it's down the line there, Jonathan. Let's talk about this weekend's race in Bahrain. 2011, it didn't take place. There's been 8. It's been staged there on 8 occasions. Ferrari have won 4 of those. Michael Schumacher, the first race. Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa have got 5 victories between them, albeit 2 of those victories for Alonso was in a Renault in 05 and 06. But it clearly shows, if you look at those statistics, that Ferrari is very quick in Bahrain. They have been very quick there in Bahrain previously. Looking at their pace last weekend in China and some of their form this morning in morning's free practice, going quick as first and second, Massa outpacing his teammate Alonso. It could be another successful weekend this weekend for Ferrari.
Yeah, I wouldn't disapprove of that at all. I worked for them once. Yeah, why not? I mean, Formula One without the red cars would be a pretty pathetic affair, I think.
And Kimi Raikkonen's going to be a great threat in the afternoon. He went quickest, followed by Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso. Paul di Resta having a very good day there, fifth in the afternoon. Felipe Massa coming home in sixth there. But just look at Kimi Raikkonen, 21 successive Grand Prix that he's actually got in the points as well. This guy is class.
No, Raikkonen is absolutely class. And also, I like his quirky character too. He's good to, be around there, for sure. Yeah, and I think Sutil has made di Resta perk up.
Absolutely. Adrian Sutil returning to Force India after a year out with some problems that happened in a nightclub, I think it was, in China.
Well, I mean, I don't know what that was all about, but anyway, as I say, di Resta suddenly found, oh dear, there's somebody here, quicker than me in the same car, so he got going again. Which is good. And
Felipe Massa, of course, is returning to some good form. He's out-qualified.
Yeah, but he doesn't have luck, does he? I mean, Fernando is such a clever guy. He's sort of a Spanish Schumacher. He knows all the tricks and where he is on the track and what's going to happen and where the pit stops will be. And I don't think Massa actually covers all that.
And just looking at the first three rounds, Rich and Jonathan there, just looking at what you guys have seen in the first few rounds, I know that it's still plenty of time to go. The cars perform differently in Europe in different temperatures, of course, but it certainly looks like Ferrari, if you take into consideration the start of their season last year, with that horrible front nose, the car simply wasn't quick enough. They seem to be in the pound seats at the moment alongside Lotus.
Without any doubt. But I don't think you should underestimate Adrian Newey. And McLaren will come back in there at some point. I mean, my bet is still on young Vettel, son of Schumacher.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think he and Newey, at the end of the day, it'll be him or Alonso when we get to the end of the year.
Okay, interesting stuff. Rich, you want to add anything to that before we move on?
I said, I thought... punted that I thought that Alonso would win, before the start of the season, and everything I saw last weekend just really confirmed that. And I think the Ferraris are looking really, really good. But the end of last season, I mean, all the talk was that Ferrari were going to have a really good car for this year, and so it's proved. And with Alonso behind the wheel, I mean, he is a magnificent driver.
He's the complete package, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, because not only is he a great racing driver, but he's also very good on the technical side and working with his pit crew as well.
And strategically, he's smart,
Yeah, but he's a fantastic racing driver, absolutely fantastic, and
no question.
And I think it's been, I think, a number of years before, since we've had so many really talented drivers in Formula One. There's always been standout drivers, but to have so many all racing at the same time, could be described as the golden age of modern motor racing, were it not for this disaster with the tyres.
I think one thing missing from the jigsaw is Bridgestone tyres instead of Pirellis, I would have thought.
Yeah, they should bring Michelin back into it and they'd make a proper tyre. But I don't know. But you're quite right. The podium is covered with ex-world champions. I mean, it is a golden age in some way.
All right, Jonathan, we must move on because we've got to link up with Steve Staunton, former Republic of Ireland footballer, in about 10 minutes. But thank you very much for your contributions. Thanks for tuning into the show, and enjoy the Formula One race from Bahrain this weekend.
Thank you for listening to my rant.
Cheers, Jonathan.
Bye.
Also, disappointing news as well concerning Formula One. As you know, there's only 19 races this year.
Sure, yeah.
And they never got it together for the French Grand Prix, which is, Magny-Cours is a really good circuit as well, and it'd be great to see that come back to the calendar.
Absolutely. Well, there's plenty of people sticking their hand up at the moment to host races. We've got Moscow or Russia coming up as well. Mexico is on the cards to reintroduce the race there. But just going back to Bahrain as well, I had got some content here. Some of the drivers just talking after free practice today. Hamilton, Raikkonen, and a couple of others. Let's just have a listen to what they had to say.
People making heat metaphors. Do you think Lotus might be a bit hot for you this weekend?
I Well, I don't know. I think we have to focus on ourselves, first of all. I think the car is quick, so we have to make sure we use that. Obviously, the speed of the car can only be shown on track if you translate it the proper way through the tyres. So we need to make sure we get the maximum out of that, and then I think we should be on a good page.
Usual Bahrain, usual Friday, usual story?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah, I think would like to have got a bit more running in the back part of P2. We had a bit more time in the garage than we would have liked, but apart from that, P1 and 2, yeah, we learnt pretty much as what we expected. Tyres are certainly, in the window again where they probably should be. So no massive surprises really. Yeah, just like you say, normal day Bahrain.
A couple of developments on the car. Seb's trying out the vented front hub. Is that something that the engineers are saying is worth having, and might it be on your car sometime soon?
Yeah, we're testing quite a few things on both cars today. So we'll go through it tonight and have a look at what's the best options for this track in particular, and then going forward for future developments of the car.
Definitely, it looks like it's going to be a tough weekend for us. We're working as hard as we can, and we just got to find some more time from somewhere. I don't really know where we're losing it, but still, at least we got through the day, and there's still positives to take out from it. So we're just going to try and analyse everything and try and see if we can find some more time somewhere.
You set your fastest time today on the hards. Have you got much more to learn from the mediums, and what do you think strategy-wise for the race?
Strategy-wise, I mean, I've not spoken to the team about that. I don't even know what kind of strategy will be on this weekend. Who knows whether it's a 3 or 4 stop? Who knows? I anticipate it'll be something similar to the last race, but last race we have a lot of understeer, and here we have rear degradation. So we've done as many laps as we can to try and prove out the long run. Maybe tomorrow we'll do some more.
Kimi, sometimes being fastest doesn't tell the whole story. Were you really feeling like you were fastest today?
Well, we do the same things in every race, and we end up to be fastest. So I had some mistake, lost some time in the last few corners. So I don't know what the others. I don't think the others certainly chase their schedule, what they do and how they run. So it might help, but we do the normal thing as always. So it is what it is.
Did you have to chase the setup, or did you sort of nail that down fairly quickly? And how are the tyres looking?
A little bit, and it's not still perfect, but it is what it is. And we'll see. The wind makes a big difference here. If it turns around or whatever direction it is, it might work better for you one way or another way. It makes it more tricky, but that's how it's always here.
Is there a danger, perhaps, maybe that everyone gets slightly overexcited about you being quickest, thinking about pole position, and then if you don't win the race, it's automatically a disappointment?
It's normal if you end up to be fastest. People think that you're automatically going to be up there, and you might turn out to be a disaster next year. You never know. Like I said, it changes quickly, and it's the small details. If you get it right or wrong, it might make the cars that only 1 second faster or slower. So things can change quickly. So it wasn't ideal today, like I said, not exactly as we wanted, but we're still very reasonable fast. So I guess we can only improve from there.
Well, that's Kimi Räikkönen there speaking just before the Bahrain race. Certainly not lacking in pace, but as usual, lacking in enthusiasm in his comments there. But that's the Bahrain Grand Prix, round 4 of the Formula 1 World Championship. A bit of boxing news to give you. Tyson Fury will make his American debut this weekend at Madison Square Garden when he takes on former IBF Cruiserweight champion Steve Cunningham. It's a 12-round fight, and the winner will move on to the number 2 position in the IBF heavyweight ranking list. Tyson Fury unbeaten in 20 fights, 14 inside the distance. We've had Tyson on the show on a few occasions. This is going to be his first serious test if you consider who he's fought in the past. Nicola Firth, Nevin Pakic, Martin Rogan, Vinny Madelone. None of these guys really have any substance. Derek Chisora, of course, who he beat as well. Cunningham is 36 years old. He's ranked number 12 by the IBF. He's got a record of 25, 5 and 12. But certainly victory there for Tyson Fury stateside will certainly put him in line for a heavyweight championship fight at some stage during during the course of this year, I would have thought. The retirement of Chris Hoy, Sir Chris Hoy, beg your pardon, happened, I think, inevitably. Most of us were expecting that. The 6-time Olympic champion. He's most successful Olympian for Team GB, winning 2 goals of the 2012 Games, 3 in Beijing 4 years earlier, and his first was in Athens as well. An unbelievable person for the sport, certainly really led British cycling for the last 10 years, guys, Sir Chris Hoy. But at 37 years old, of course, it's the right time for the 11 times world champion to finally leave the sport.
Absolutely. Well, what can you say? I mean, the guy's a legend. Probably time to put his feet up and have a cup of tea instead of getting up at God knows what time in the morning to cycle 200 miles or whatever he does.
Absolutely, an incredible performer, and the most successful Olympian of all time for Team GB as well. We wish him well in his next chapter of his life, which I sincerely hope will be, and certainly I would have thought would have been involved in cycling and looking after the younger talent. Somebody else has left us as well, certainly not retired from sport, but has signed out from life, unfortunately, and that's the former cricket captain.
Ex-Kent, I think, as well. But I think most people, will remember Mike Dennis for, I suppose, famously dropping himself from the Ashes team of 1974, and I think that's where after that Ray Illingworth took over. But he was very much, I seem to remember, very much sort of an establishment man and an establishment choice.
Good player? I don't actually remember. I mean, you're talking 74. That was the year I was born.
No, not a bad player. No, not one of England's greatest, cricket captains.
I wouldn't have thought so. Not if you have to drop yourself.
Yeah, but a very an honest and straightforward and decent fellow.
Well, there you go, Mike Dennis. Unfortunately,
an honourable guy. I mean, anyone who has, I suppose, the courage, as the captain to drop themselves from a team. I mean, has to be commended, really.
Well, there you go, Mike Dennis. He leaves us. Just a little bit of basketball news for you as well before we go to a commercial break and bring on Steve Staunton. The playoffs, or the regular season, should I say, stateside is finished. We covered the NFL playoffs, and what we'll do is we'll keep you up to date from a week-to-week basis on how the performances are going there stateside in the NBA. And the Eastern Conference was sewn up pretty comfortably by the Miami Heat, who are the defending champions. The three kings, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, in absolutely unbelievable form. 66 victories there for them. They closed off with an 8-game winning streak. New York also qualified in the Eastern Conference, led by Carmelo Anthony. Indiana, Brooklyn by Chicago Bulls. Lil Deng having a very good season for them. The Atlanta Hawks, Boston, and Milwaukee, they have all qualified in the Eastern Conference. And in the Western Conference, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They tied up the Western Conference there, followed by the San Antonio Spurs. Tony Parker there performing particularly well all season. Denver, the Los Angeles Clippers, really the toast of LA, unexpectedly this season, with MVP Chris Paul and Blake Griffin performing very well for them. Spain's Marc Gasol, the brother of Pau Gasol, performing very well for the Memphis Grizzlies. They are also through alongside Golden State. The LA Lakers just sneaking through. They spent a lot of money in the off-season, bringing in some big names there like Dwight Howard. Pau Gasol, Spain's leading basketball player, plays there for the Lakers. He's been in good form as well. But no Kobe Bryant for the playoffs. He's out injured. And the Houston Rockets also managed to sneak in there in the Western Conference, led by James Harden, their new signing from the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll be bringing you weekly updates, certainly on how those the NBA playoffs have been progressing. And you want to add something to that, Rich?
No. I'm not really that knowledgeable about netball, but I know that
netball
is a big fan.
Basketball,
rather. He was having a chat with me about it earlier. So, Stu, you're the man really to speak about netball.
Pass. Well, let's all pass, actually. Let's go to a commercial break and let's bring on somebody slightly more interesting than all three of us put together, and that is former Republic of Ireland captain and footballing legend from Liverpool and Aston Villa, Steve Staunton. He joins us on the phone just after this.
TRE.
Tech Tuff's form.
Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, welcome back to the Friday Night Sports Bar with me, Dom Aldworth, Stuart Joseph and Richard Tilsley. And joining me on the phone now for a big golf day and dinner event taking place on the 26th of May. The Steve Staunton Foundation is what it's for. Is the man himself, former Republic of Ireland legend, over 100 caps for the Republic of Ireland, Liverpool and Aston Villa as well. Steve Staunton, welcome to Talk Radio Europe this afternoon.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, Steve. Big day coming up for you down here on the Costa del Sol in barely a month's time, on the 26th of May it is. Just tell us a little bit. It's about Steve Staunton Foundation, which you've been involved in. Should we talk about that first, if we may? Just tell the listeners out there what exactly the Steve Staunton Foundation is all about.
Well, to be honest with you, we started up last year with good friends of mine, John and Zoe Mark. And it was at a Rotary Club do, and it was the usual aftermath of I could get you more sponsorship than that, and we can do this and that and the other. And in the end, Zoe went, come on then. And then the following morning, when we realised what we both said, we thought, well, we put it into action. And we did. We had a golf day and an autumn ball. Both raised significant funds for cystic fibrosis and St Giles Hospice last year. And this year we were asked to get involved with Cancer for Kids charity down in Marbella. We were glad to oblige, and you know, John and Zoe are instrumental in everything that goes on. By the way, John is down in Marbella at this moment in time.
He is, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he's down there with a friend of his called Fletch, and I think he's put a smoke screen up. We all know why he's down there. He's not down there working or doing anything. He's down there for a good weekend with the boys.
He's allowed to do that.
Hopefully John knows I know.
Just planning all the action that's going to be taking place on the 30th. And we've had Gordon Cowans on, former Aston Villa legend. We've had Johnny on as well a couple of weeks. We've got you on at the moment because we're trying to do our best here to get any interested fans out there, football fans, golfing fans as well, to take part in this marvellous event on the 26th. It's going to be at Marbella Country Club as well, which is a magnificent course. Me and my colleagues sitting in the studio, we played it, I think, the very first day, didn't we, Rich? Something like that. And then you got dinner at Sandro's Villa Tiberia as well afterwards. And just give the listeners out there, Steve, a little bit of insight as to who exactly is going to, they can be rubbing shoulders with and chatting and hearing all of your fantastic stories. What sort of guys are going to be coming down with you?
I mean, we've asked plenty. Unfortunately, we had no control over the dates of when the gig is on. But we have got Niall Quinn's coming down. Niall's put a team in and looking forward to the weekend. There's Big Ken McNaught, Peter Witt, myself, Gordon Cowans. We've got Big Ron Atkinson.
Big Ron.
He always likes to be called Big Ron.
Big Ron.
Because he thinks it's Big Sam now, but it's always been Big Ron. That's a private joke with them too. But now, we've got some great characters. Hopefully Stan Boardman can come down. We've got other celebs that are only going to be able to make the night time, such as Harry Redknapp, please God, and the likes of. We've got, depending on injuries at the end of the season and international commitments, we've got one or two English, Welsh and Irish internationals. So it all depends on what's going on at the end of the season. But we have got some great support, great cause. Delighted to be involved and support the charity, you know, Cancer for Kids at Great Ormond Street. And hopefully we're going to try and make this into an annual event where next year we can control the dates and control everything that's going on and basically make as much money for this great charity as possible.
And Steve, just for the listeners out there as well, you know, the football fans especially, you know, very often today's generation of football players are very unapproachable. That's the general consensus. But you guys from yesteryear, these guys will be able to share a beer with you in the 19th hole. They'll be able to talk to you and ask you questions about your career, hear all of your fantastic locker room stories as well. You know, it's not just going to be an event where you guys are kept somewhere else and the people that have to pay their ticket for the event will be teeing off somewhere else. You know, you guys will be mixing with the public as well, won't you?
Well, that's we've been brought up in that generation. I was very fortunate at the end of that era, and I've seen the changes. And, you know, everything's happened the way it has. The game has got bigger. It's more a business industry and whatnot. But, the boys that are coming down now, they're going to be so approachable. If you're having a drink with them or asking questions, that's what we're down there for. We'll be one-to-one at the bar or on our tables. We want to go down there, have a good time, appreciate all what the general public are doing as well, financing and helping to raise money for this great organisation. So, it's a mix of everything. And, there's no greater ambassador than Mr. Niall Quinn. Let me tell you, he'll be there till the early hours of the morning having a good chat and a good dance as the night goes on.
Well, Steve, I'm going to give all the necessary details for people to get hold of Johnny after our interview. While we've got you on the line, a couple of questions about your career. I've got a couple of gentlemen here which are very knowledgeable about the sport and remember your career very fondly as well. That might want to partake. But you had a marvellous career yourself, 102 caps or so for the Republic. Liverpool and Aston Villa, Coventry, amongst other teams that you played your career. But one question I've always wanted to ask you, does that make you a Liverpool fan, an Aston Villa fan? Who do you actually support?
I always support the wife and kids. That's number one. Number two, Aston Villa, Liverpool. I live in the Midlands. I look out for both results equally. I've got very, very great, fond memories of both clubs, especially my first time round at both clubs. I've been very fortunate to have played at both clubs twice. Two superb clubs, well run, and it'd be just nice to see both clubs getting back to the right end of the table and winning trophies again.
Kenny Dalglish gave you your first big break, if I'm correct in saying, at Liverpool. What was it like to play under him?
Well, Kenny's Kenny. What can you say? Absolute legend. He was great to me. Knew when to leave me out, although I didn't know as a 18, 19-year-old. Had one or two one-to-ones with him where I voiced my opinion. Obviously, the great manager that he is took it in the right manner and dealt with it in the right manner, and I became a better player because of it. And you don't realise that at the time. It's only now looking back you realise how great these people are. When you finish your career and you look back, and it was just a pleasure to be there at that time.
Steve, this is Richard in the studio with Dominic. Talking about Liverpool and Kenny Dalglish, do you think Liverpool were wrong to get rid of him at the end of last season?
Wrong, maybe the wrong words, but I do think they could have and should have given him a bit more time. But in saying that, if everything that's evolving at Liverpool turns out in the right manner over the next couple of years, well, then we'll all say, well, everything was done for the greater reason of Liverpool Football Club. So time will tell.
Because Rodgers is changing the whole footballing philosophy, isn't he, at Liverpool?
What, the philosophy
of how you play? I mean, it was a much more direct game under Kenny, wasn't it?
Well, no, you're wrong there. I'm sorry, Liverpool have always been a pass and move football club. I think the difference under Brendan is that they're actually gone the Barcelona way. Now, if that's your idea of football, well, that's how you implement it, and you try and get that into the club. And I think Brendan's going to be given the time to play this way and do the Barcelona way, as everybody says. But I watched Liverpool under Kenny Dalglish, and they played as much football as anybody, and they were as unlucky as they are this year. So the game is played in many different ways, but Liverpool Football Club have always played a pass and move game. So the only difference I see is that they actually have changed the system of play as a 4-3-3 rather than a 4-4-2.
But you don't think when Carroll was in the team there was, I suppose, a tendency to boot it forward to him?
Sorry?
When Carroll was in the team, when he first went to Liverpool, you don't think then there was a tendency to be more direct?
No, well, everybody's got this misperception of things, and it's like Big Sam Allardyce said today. You know, the minute you play a big man up front, everybody thinks you go direct. West Ham play a lot more football than people give them credit for. And it was the same with Liverpool when Andy Carroll was playing. But are you telling me that when you're in wide areas, you're not going to put it in the box, whether you're 6'4" or 5'4"? And Liverpool haven't altered the game, actually. In fact, they probably put more crosses in the box now without Carroll. So, you know, it's this misperception of things, especially with the media.
Now, Steve, you were also quite a tough tackling player in your day, and the game is a lot softer now. I mean, do you think it's getting too soft?
It's only because I was so slow, I only got there late. No, I mean, look, there's rules and regs in the game now, and the one thing for me is, it's not that it... I think it's the way people tackle. For me, I've never known so many players tackle with their studs showing. We always tackled with the inside of our foot. So, you know, you can be hard and fair with the inside of your foot, but for some reason, everybody's showing their studs and putting them up, and I don't know, mistiming tackles, and I don't know if they're brave enough, first and foremost. So I think that has to be addressed in how players actually tackle the ball. The slide tackling's gone out the game virtually, apart from one or two. And when you see a good, strong slide tackle go in and you hear the crowd up in arms, you're thinking, well, the crowd now are uneducated to what's going on with the game.
Steve, can I, Stuart in the studio, I just want to take you back a little bit if I can, and if I'm incorrect, please tell me. But in 1989, when you won the Cup, you were about to win the double, and you played Arsenal on that shocking evening when Michael Thomas scored in the last minute. Did you play in that game?
Well, I was on the pitch.
And you played in the game. How did that happen? Just tell me, Steve, how did that happen? Because I'm a big Spurs supporter, and I remember watching that, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. As good as Arsenal played, I mean, Liverpool sat back for a lot of the game, but I thought they got the tactics totally wrong that night, personally. But then, obviously, I was upset at the end of the game, because I would rather you won the championship and done the double. But what happened that night?
Well, if you remember back, we had the unfortunate tragedy of Hillsborough.
Yes, of course.
A couple of months prior. And we actually played, I can't remember how many games in so many days, but we were literally playing and doing what Chelsea are doing now, if not more than that. So we were playing every 2 to 3 days. And it was, I think, of memory, it was the first time the FA Cup was, that the league had finished after the FA Cup. We actually played the FA Cup final on the Saturday, had to play West Ham on the Tuesday night after the extra time, and then we had to play Arsenal on the Friday night. And going back in memory, I think Liverpool asked to play on the Saturday, and the league wouldn't allow us. So at the end of a long, hard season, after a tragedy as bad as Hillsborough, we had to play all them games. We had to nail back all the points back off Arsenal that we had done after January. And we done that. And unfortunately, we just ran out of legs. And it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't a case of that we sat back. If you remember, on the night, we gave away a goal. Did Alan Smith really head that ball in? I mean, if one hair on his head touched the ball, I'd say that would be about it. So an indirect free kick's gone in. And then you've got the second goal where John Barnes unfortunately put a cross in where normally he would have kept it in the corner flag and it would have been the end of the game. So I think, looking back, and it just wasn't meant to be for us.
Your reasoning is totally acceptable. Just finally, can I just ask you, what is your best memory in your career? What stands out as your highlight?
Being asked to sign for Liverpool Football Club.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Even more so than making the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Well, I mean, I can give you a list as long as we are. If you're asking for one, to actually play for Ireland, I mean, to actually play in World Cup sides, to win trophies, I've been very fortunate through my career, and I've been blessed. Injuries got me into teams that otherwise, if a fella had, in particular Jimmy Beglin, didn't get injured, I don't think I would have got my chance at Liverpool. So, these things happen in football, and I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time.
And
I've played with some great teams.
And Steve, we've been very fortunate to have you join us this evening as well on the phone. We're going to let you get on with your weekend. We've got plenty more questions we want to ask you, but we're going to save those questions for when you come down. I'm really looking forward to having you guys down here on the Costa del Sol and meeting some of these guys, and we're going to do what we can to get as many people to partake in this golfing event as possible. Hopefully we can have an opportunity with you guys in the studio beforehand as well. But most importantly, thank you once again for coming on this evening, and look forward to hopefully catching up with you in just over a month's time, Steve.
No, thank you, lads, for the opportunity to promote this, and we'll definitely be down there. Most of the boys are going down for at least 3-4 days. A lot of the boys are going down for a week, so we will be around, and look forward to all the questions and going into the studio as well.
Brilliant. And the devil, I'm no doubt, will be casting his net when you're all down here at that time of in 4 weeks' time. Steve, once again, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. It now begins for you.
Take care, lads. Thank you.
Cheers, Steve. Brilliant stuff. There's Steve Staunton, former Republic of Ireland, Liverpool and Aston Villa player. Some details, most importantly, the reason why Steve is coming down on the 26th of May with a host of former players like Big Ron Atkinson, Gordon Cowans, who we spoke to last week, Niall Quinn as well, many, many more coming down. It's for the Steve Staunton Foundation. This year, money will be going to a Leukemia Kids Cancer charity. Details for you. If you're a football fan and you like golf and you want to rub shoulders with these guys and hear all their magnificent stories, this is the day to do it on the 26th. Golf at Marbella, dinner at Villa Tiberia afterwards, bit of time in the 19th hole, no doubt, with these guys after golf, talking and hearing all their stories. Zoe.martin1 at btinternet.com. That's Zoe.martin1 at btinternet.com. That is the email address. You can get in contact with Johnny Martin. A telephone number for you as well is 0044 7818 003695. That's 0044 7818 003695. That's Johnny's number. You can also get in touch with us here at Talk Radio Europe and ask Vanessa at the front desk there to get hold of me, Dominic, or 665926548 is my number. I can put you in touch with Johnny. No problem at all. Get yourself together a team. Enjoy the day. If you only want to attend the dinner, that is possible as well. So don't miss out on this one. We'll keep reminding you in the weeks leading up to it that this event is taking place, and for sure it's going to be the #1 golfing event on the Costa del Sol this year. Don't miss out on it. Thanks very much indeed. That is Steve. Guys, we've only got a few minutes left, and we've got all this football to talk about, so we're going to bring you in there, Stu, very quickly, just to give us a roundup of what happened in the Premier League during the course of this week.
Well, there's a few interesting matches. Obviously, Arsenal-Liverpool drew, which I thought was a good game if anybody saw it. I thought Everton played terrific. Arsenal also played well at times, but Everton wouldn't be a rule during in midfield, and they did really, really well. All the games during the week have gone the way everyone thought, and a bit more leading up to the games this weekend. We've got some great games. Fulham v Arsenal, which should be a cracking game. And me and Richard were talking that every game this weekend has meaning, and I think, for Richard, we weren't too agreeable on this particular game, were we, Arsenal Fulham?
Well, I mean, the thing is, this, as we said, I mean, every single game bar one, which is the Swansea-Southampton game, has relevance this weekend.
Yes.
I mean, Arsenal have to win to maintain their Champions League push. Norwich and Reading, two teams fighting against relegation. QPR, Stoke, likewise.
Stoke have got more there to play for. They QPR must feel they're down now, surely.
But I don't. They're at home, and I can't see any of Harry Redknapp's teams giving up at this point. To be honest, I really can't.
Do you think Caneo can keep Sunderland? They're playing Everton. That's a hard game.
That's a really tough game because Everton have played some really good football this year. Now I think it's probably one of the best teams that Moyes has ever had at Everton.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Everton, if they get a win and the results go the wrong way, I think Everton can be right in the middle of this Champions League play. Swansea and Southampton, we feel not a lot to play for there. They're both in midfield.
But Newcastle obviously loads to play for against West Brom. I mean, Newcastle aren't out of it, and Wigan, West Ham. But you have to say the two biggest games of the weekend are on Sunday: Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham, Man City. Well,
that Tottenham, Manchester City for me would be 90 minutes of stress, I should think. Liverpool and Chelsea.
How's the injury list looking for Spurs with a little bit of a break that you guys have had?
All three could play, and none of them can play. But they don't know. They've all got late fitness tests. But I've got a feeling if there's any doubt in any fitness, they won't play them because we've got 5 games coming up after this, and these boys have got to be fit. It's no good playing them for one game and they're out for the next 5.
Well,
so.
It doesn't really matter if you lose this game on the weekend. It's far more important for you that Liverpool beat Chelsea and that Chelsea do lose. Because your season is going to be determined by the encounter at the bridge.
I agree, but there's hard games to come generally, and I think if we're going to get some momentum going, I think we have to win this game. I think it's so important to the morale, to the supporters, to the club. I think it will just set us off for the last 5 matches.
Very, very difficult. Man City have started to play some very good football. I don't think they're not necessarily the team would enjoy to watch, but it's very strong. It's functional, industrial. With a few gems thrown in.
They do the job. That's the thing. They do the job.
Gentlemen, we've got about 10 seconds left. Massive game for Malaga as well.
Big shout for Malaga this weekend. They're away to Valencia. Massive game. I mean, they're both level on points, so this is going to be such an exciting game. Really looking forward to that. And come on, Malaga.
And the biggest game in Europe is which one? Is it Mansfield-Wrexham?
Mansfield and Wrexham is the biggest match. And Mansfield win, don't laugh, they're into the Football League again.
Not to mention Juventus, AC Milan on top. That's all we've got time for, guys. Thank you for coming in. Many thanks to Steve Staunton for joining us and to you out there for listening, and have a great sporting weekend.
Live international news from Sky.